We now proceed with our cosmic timetable to another event known as Lag BaOmer, the 33rd day in the Omer that has been previously discussed. In other words, 33 days following the day of Passover. For those still adhering to the principle of Omer, without even knowing why, this period has been a period of mourning. As we discussed previously, 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva suffered a horrible death at the hands of the Roman, along with their teacher, Rabbi Akiva. 24,000. My, that's an awful sum. And yet such a precise sum. 24,000. What seems stranger is the fact that this exact sum is also mentioned in the Bible. In Numbers chapter 25, in an incident involving Pinhas and the ruler of the tribe of Shimon, I quote, "And when Pinhas, the son of Eleazar, the son of Aaron, the priest, saw what was going on from the midst of the congregation, he took a spear in his hand, and he went after the man of Israel into the chamber, and thrust both of them through the man of Israel, and the woman through her belly. So the plague was stayed from the children of Israel, and those that died by the plague were 24,000. A strange coincidence. A Bible providing information, possibly even exaggerating as to the numbers involved, would be, as Rabbi Shimon has repeatedly written in the Zohar, that it is only a fool who translates the Bible, this historical cosmic event, as a narration, as storytelling. So, where does this number 24 come from? Rabbi Isaac Luria, in his Gates of Meditation, in explaining away this period of Omer, in which he says these days are judged by the name of Elohim, the 5-letter name of the Lord. And it is quite obvious for those who do not yet understand that the Lord does not need to resort to aliases and acquiring so many different names by which he is known, but rather each name of the Lord represents and portrays another form of manifested cosmic energy by which the force becomes manifested. Since this period of Omer is a day of judgment, din, the prevailing force of the Lord is demonstrated through the word Elohim, which in essence is referring to judgment. And if we take these 5-letter this 5-letter word, we can make 24 different combinations, like Aleph, Lamed, Ke, Yud, Mem, which is the way it is normally spelled, and we can also kind of juggle around the letters as Aleph, Ke, Lamed, Yud, Mem, and come up with 24 different representations of the same thing. Different degrees, different levels, different intensities, different states of consciousness, but all revolving around one aspect, the aspect of din, of judgment. Why 24,000, states Rabbi Isaac Luria in his Gates of Meditation, page 191, that the word Elokim, which begins with an Aleph, also means Elef in Hebrew, 1,000. And within this secret display, this mystical display of the force of the Lord, the combination of 24 Aleph, interchangeable, represents the reason why 24,000 students perished, why 24,000 Israelites in numbers perished, because each and every single layer, state of consciousness, state of intelligence of Elokim, a form of judgment, a form of negative cosmic energy, became all manifested at the very same time. And when can and could that energy be manifested in its totality? But during the time of Omer, the time when the force of the Lord, because the Jew himself had not aroused the positive energy of the Lord, as we discussed concerning the Exodus, they themselves were not worthy of their deliverance from bondage, and therefore the period of Omer is not a period of mourning, and therefore we refrain from marriages, festivities, because 24,000 students of Rabbi Akiva perished. But rather, from the Kabbalistic point of view, what caused what? What came first? And the reason why 24,000 students perished was for the reason that this was a period by which negative cosmic energy prevails. That was the reason. That is the primary significance of the Omer. And when Lag BaOmer came, suddenly the custom of instituting marriages and festivities can again begin. Why? Because Rabbi Shimon passed on in this period, this day. And the well-known custom mentioned again in Rabbi Isaac Luria's Gates of Meditation, that it is a tradition in Israel on Lag BaOmer to visit the resting place of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and his son Rabbi Lazar in Meron. They eat, they drink, they're merry, Again, the corruption of understanding cosmic timetables, understanding the Bible, has led most people to believe that the period of mourning ceases because Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai passed on. If anything, that certainly should be a day of mourning rather than a day of festivities. And furthermore, his death should not be the reason, should not be a cause for suddenly this transformation from the period of mourning to one of festivity. No, it is again the cosmic timetable that we should be referring to. The 33rd day in the Omer is known by its cosmic energy intelligence called Hod Shebahod. Hod Shebahod. And since this is not the place for me to delve into the significance of each sphera, but rather merely to state that Hod, on another level, and another frame of reference, is also to be considered as Malhut Sheba Malhut. Like the last day, the 49th day of the Omer, is called Malhut Sheba Malhut, the terminating point of this period of deprivation of light, the prevailing of din, of judgment. So too, on a potential level, Hod Shebahod is to be considered cosmically as the termination of the Yemei Hadin, the days of judgment. And therefore, as the Zohar in the Idra Zuta states that when the Rebbe Shimon died, he chose that day. He chose the day, as I explain in Kabbalah for the layman, because this was the potential date of Shavuot. It is indeed a holiday. It is indeed a day of festivities. It is a day that darkness came to an end. And so Lag BaOmer is not to be celebrated because Rabbi Shimon passed on that day. It is not to be considered a day that concludes mourning because Rabbi Shimon passed on that day. But rather, the cause being it is Hod Shebahod, indicating and signifying the potential conclusion of Yemei Hadin, the end of suffering, the end of darkness. Now man can again return after having completed 33 days of labor, of making an attempt to spiritually elevate oneself through the process of the counting of the Omer. When we reach the 33rd day, following 32 days of effort, labor, in our attempt to spiritually uplift ourselves, we are now ready for the historic event of a potential Shavuot, the potential giving of the Torah. This was Lag BaOmer. In fact, Rabbi Isaac Luria, in his Gates of Meditation, states a tale concerning one Rabbi Avraham Halevi, that he went to visit the grave of Rabbi Shimon, and in that day he also said the prayer of Birkat Tishkon, Nahem Hashem Aleinu et Avelei Tzion. In other words, this was a day for consolation of mourners. And after he finished the Amidah, which includes this particular prayer, Rabbi Isaac Luria stated that he saw suddenly the image of Rabbi Shimon standing on his grave, and he said, "Tell this man, Avraham Halevi, why does he say Nachem in a day of rejoicing?" Now, unfortunately, very shortly he shall be in a state of mourning. And continues the Ari, and a month didn't pass, and he lost a son, and he accepted consolation. So this is important, this minhag of celebrating Lag BaOmer was a cosmic event that brought about a day by which Rabbi Shimon should pass on.